Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, this morning we have a bit of an extension in our conversation. We're going a little past our original time. So this morning, stay tuned as we'll be chatting with the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. This morning, I have the privilege of sitting right here on the big couch with the big man himself. This morning, I'm chatting with the Honourable Farley Chavez Augustine, and we're talking a bit about what's happening at the level of the Tobago People's Party. Now, it's no secret that there's an election on the horizon. And for those of you who know, we just came out of election season, so we're jumping right back into it. And we heard earlier in the year, the People's National Movement did announce their Tobago nomination process, and we saw that happening. And now we're seeing the Tobago People's Party having their nomination process that took place, I believe it was a week or two ago. And things are moving ahead swiftly because we're already seeing that Chief is here to tell us about all those persons who have placed their names in the hat and put themselves forward. Now, last week when I was reading the news, I believe I heard there was 55 persons.
Yes, and this is 55 after we had about 6 individuals that could not qualify.
Okay.
Because there are some basic rules. One, you must be a member of the party. You had to be nominated by at least 6 members of the party as just basic to meet to the next stage. So if you did submit a nomination but you missed some of those critical things, unfortunately, you wouldn't be successful to go to the next stage, because you have to more or less demonstrate that at least 6 people in the party think that you're good enough to be considered. However, we don't have a hard and fast rule in terms of how long you ought to be a member, meaning that you can be a member this morning and be nominated this afternoon. So we don't have those restrictions, because we continue to build a coalition of the competent and the willing. It's no secret that we have had candidates in the past that migrated to our platform from other political parties.
Correct.
And we have always facilitated and worked with them. So it's nothing strange per se, but we have maybe by the time we boil down to about 55 thereabout, or maybe 53 or 52. So it's quite a lot.
Right, but let's get into the good stuff, right? Let's talk about the persons who have gone up unopposed. Is this a good sign for their current leadership, that persons are, somewhat satisfied? Or is it that persons are a bit intimidated? Why do you think we've seen a number of those places where no one really opposed them?
Various reasons. It might be a case of satisfaction. It might be a case of intimidation. Meaning that I just feel like this person is a powerhouse, it ain't gonna work out for me.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to be clear on is that you could be nominated. You could be the only person nominated, and the party can decide to go back to the action group and say, send us some more nominees. So there's no guarantee that because you are now the only person nominated in that district that you will get the nod. At the end of the day, our process is multi-pronged. It starts with being nominated by at least 6 members. Then we actually write all of our action groups and have our action groups do an assessment on a prescribed form. And they will rank the nominees from 1 to however many they are for that district. Then that comes up to the screening committee, which I will appoint later this week. The screening committee does an interview, and then the screening committee makes a recommendation to the political leader who has some veto power, or who can say, listen, I'm not satisfied we have an appropriate candidate in this area as yet, or are we indecisive about this area? And sometimes it's not about appropriate candidate, just that you're indecisive. You're unsure whether this person can get the support, and we may choose to go back out in that district. I will also add that it is important to appreciate that we are a family, and I expect it to be hotly contested in some areas. And I'll go through the nominees district by district in a short while with you. But I expect it is hotly contested in some areas, and I expect, of course, feelings and emotions to be a part of it. But I also expect that at the end of the day, we will rally behind the chosen candidates, the prospective candidates, when that time comes, and we will rally behind them all the way to an election victory when that time comes as well.
Right, I'm like that you said that. So what does that mean? Does that mean that you will have those internal workshops and
Yes,
meetings to ensure that
yes.
you set a
You
particular
know,
precedent
that's right.
for how
So
this is going to go?
even before we announce the candidates, I will be calling all those who are nominated and ensuring that they know what is the ethos of the party, what our principles have been. It's no secret. Look, at the last general election, we went back out for candidates in the Tobago West area. And when we went back out, we got, I think, two other hits, Mr. Dennis and Mr. Sampson. And we ended up picking one of those as opposed to one of those who were already in the race. And Mr. Sampson proved to be victorious. So, and Mr. James came out and campaigned and canvassed, notwithstanding the fact that perhaps he thought he would have been the candidate. So, I strongly believe that we have been building a party that is really a family, a party that self-corrects, a party that understands that we can be critical of each other internally, we can compete internally, but we have a common enemy. But more than a common enemy, and the most important thing is that we have a common goal. And the common goal is to create the greatest little island on the planet. That's all of our goal. And in fact, I say to my team all the time, because we are in retreat now, retreat ends today. I've said to the team all of the time, I've been saying, look, if there comes a chance that Farley cannot make it, or Farley becomes a liability, or Farley is not the one, I must support this institution, because the institution is bigger than the individual. That's why we took a bottom-up approach. I did not select the party's name. I did not select the party's symbol. Those were all given by the people of the party. And the reason why it's called Tobago's People's Party is because it's set out to be Tobago's only indigenous political organization that is really worth fighting for and fighting with. When we look at the other so-called indigenous Tobago parties, they do not enjoy the level of organization and certainly not the level of democracy that we exhibit in our party. And even with this screening process, which I just explained, there are two other layers that must be part of it. Part of it is that we do send our names to the intelligence community to see if there are in fact any issues, if anybody is a person of interest. We do that all the time in every election, and we also ensure that we try to gauge public perception, not just those within the action group, but people who are not in the action group, people just ordinary fishers, ordinary housewives, people who may comment on Facebook from time to time. We listen to what they are saying, and then we make a judgment call accordingly, which I think is critical to our success.
Right. Will this list be made public?
Oh, absolutely.
Will each candidate be able to do their own internal campaigning?
In fact, we want that to happen. We want people to do their internal campaigning. We want people to reach out to their action groups and say, hey, support me. I'm the best person because of X, Y, and Z. We want people to WhatsApp people, call people, beg for the support. That's part of it. We want people to show up to the screening with their friends, their family. Last screening, we had people showed up with big truck and showed up with drums and mukojombi and flags and all sort of stuff. We want people to show that they want this and put some skin in the game. So we very much support the internal campaigning. The only thing we won't support is campaigning against an individual and personality attacks. Campaign on ideas, campaign on why you think you are a better person for the electoral district, and work it accordingly.
Understood. As there are a number of new persons putting their hat in the ring, is this a wake-up call for the current administration and current executive to understand that there's no way to stay comfortable and you're not entitled to anything?
And I've said it to them, nobody's entitled. Nobody's entitled to any seat whatsoever. Nobody's entitled to it. And because nobody's entitled, we have to appreciate that you have to just keep fighting for it. You have to keep building relationships. You see, this politics is also about building relationships with people more than anything else. Because sometimes you You build things in the community. You give support to wakes and funerals and weddings and so on. You show up at football matches. You help clean streets. But nothing trumps building relationship with people. That's something I pride myself in having. In fact, I have formed some long-lasting relationships to the extent that I think if I'm no longer the area rep, I could still go in Palliative and go and look for buffalo. I could still go and sit down and talk with Duck and Pat and them. I could still go Castar and go down on the bay and sit down and lime with Red Pig and others. I could still go up at Shallaville and know Coast and them will give me some fish because I build relationships. At the end of the day, it has to be about building relationships. Tobago is a small space, small geographic space, small number of people, and it's unfortunate that sometimes the politics becomes so aggressive, so vitriolic, so personal that we miss the opportunity to demonstrate to the rest of the world what it means to be a Tobago family, to be, as Lord Nelson say, all of we are one family.
Understood. Let's talk about, crossing the floor. This is not something new. We saw it happen last election, last THA election. A number of even the current THA members who were prominent members of the People's National Movement. And we're seeing that happening again with some of these nominees who are known PNM members putting themselves forward for candidacy here on this list.
And that's because people recognize chalk from cheese. People know that there is a difference between plantain and bok. People know quality over anything else. People want a party that is democratic, a party that gives voice to the people. I'm sure you see sometimes some supporters of our party being critical of us online, but it doesn't stop us from, like Sister Bernie. She has been critical sometimes of us and some things that she doesn't agree with, but it doesn't stop me from loving Sister Bernie. It doesn't stop me from, if I pass there, to pass in her kitchen, because we are family. And nothing is personal. At the end of the day, this has to be about how we build up the society, how we build Tobago. And many people think that the main competitor does not enjoy at this time a democratically led party that does not enjoy a sense where membership have a voice and membership can decide on what happens and what does not happen. But the truth is, I don't consider myself in what they do and what they don't do. I have a duty as political leader of the Tobago's People's Party to actually work on improving and building out the institution, because at the end of the day, not only am I desirous of building the greatest little island on the planet, I'm also desirous of building the greatest political movement in the entire Caribbean. And that's where we are headed. And that means that we will keep refining our principles and refining how we do business.
Understood. So we want to get into the names and
sure. So
of the persons.
I'll do the announcements, and I'll start. I'll do it in a semi-geographic way, but of course I left the most competitive districts for last, right? Well, in my district, you have yours truly. We did have one other hit, and I want to acknowledge her. Is a former student at Speyside High while I was there, but unfortunately her membership could not be verified. She did not submit any nominees on her application. That is Miss Chelsea Jordan, and Chelsea knows that is love, and we're working together. At the end of the day, we go to Roxborough Argyle, which is the next district. In that area, we have 3 nominees at present. We have Anne Natasha Second, Akel Franklin, and Orlando Kerr. So those are 3 heavy hitters, I think, in that district. Anne Natasha Second coming from the Beckers family in Roxborough. Orlando Kerr coming from Delaford, and marrying to someone from Delaford and living in Delaford. Akel Franklin growing up partly in Delaford in King Street, and also from Roxborough and part of the Lewis clan. So we have those 3 nominees for Roxborough Argyle. I think we had some graphics. I'm not sure if they're using them. So we have Roxborough Argyle. Again, the 3 nominees are Anne Natasha Second, Akel Franklin, and Orlando Kerr. We can move to Belgarden, Glamorgan, and I'll go over these. We move to Belgarden, Glamorgan, and we have 1 nominee in that area. That person is Dr. Faith Bremner. That person is Dr. Faith Bremner in Belgarden, Glamorgan. Then we go to the third area, which is Mount St. George, Goodwood. And in Mount St. George, Goodwood, and I see we don't have the graphics, but in Mount St. George, Goodwood, we already did Roxburgh, Argyle. We could skip all the way down to, right, and now we go to Mount St. George, Goodwood. We have 6 people there. We have Al Duke. We have Megan Cicely Morrison. We have Marlon Curtis Rajman. We have Picton Henry. We have Brian Patrick. And we have Crystal Clacia Denicia Lashley. So those are the 6 individuals nominated in Mount St. George, Goodwood. And this is the most hotly contested Tobago East District.
Okay.
We go to Bagatelle Bacalet next. And there we have 1 nominee at this time, and that is Natisha Charles Pantin. Mrs. Charles Pantin is currently the Secretary with responsibility for food security. We go to Scarborough Mount Grace. And in Scarborough Mount Grace, we have 3 individuals. We have Arnell Caron Devines. We have Andre Gerard Sibro. And we have Trevor Williamson James, the incumbent. So those are the 3 we have in Scarborough Mount Grace. So this is a hotly contested one as well. We then go to Mason Hall, Moriah. In Mason Hall, Moriah, we have Ian Anthony Pollard, who is the incumbent. We also have, which is a big surprise, Alan Neville Stewart. This is Mr. Alan Stewart, current director, TIMA. We have Latoya Abigail Hosford. Most of you would have heard about her in the news when she resigned from her party earlier this year. And we have Bevon Adolphus Dennis. That's in the Mason Hall, Moriah area. In Lambo Lowlands, we have 1 nominee at this time, and that is Wayne McConney Wasp Clark. Everybody know Mr. Wasp. He's a lone nominee at this time. In Boko Mount Pleasant, we have 3 nominees. We have Sonny Albert Gregg, who is the incumbent. We have Mr. Kelton Thomas, and we have Sean McCoon, the 3 nominees in the Boko Mount Pleasant area. Then we go to Bethesda, Lekoto. In that area, we have 3 individuals. They are Joseph Clinton, we have Zorisha Amina Hackett, and we have Ruston Wood. So 3 individuals in the Bethesda, Lekoto area. Then we go to Plymouth, Blackrock. We also have 3 individuals vying for this area. We have Mr. Niall George, the incumbent. We have Kern DeBerrio Michael Alexis. That's Mr. Kern Alexis. And we have Karen Kirsten Duke in the Plymouth, Blackrock area. In Signal Hill, Patience Hill, we have 2 nominees. 2 of them are not strangers. We have Nigel Dave Tate, the incumbent. And we have Mr. Sherwin Jordan, who has been around the anti-PNM movement in Tobago for a while, since we were in the other place, hosting meetings and so on. Then we go to Darrell Spring Wim. In Darrell Spring Wim, we have 4 people who are desirous of unseating the minority, and I'm confident one of them will. We have Miss Nevlin Renwick Darrell. She's a former administrator in the THA. We have Ricky Michael Jofield. We have Kashif Atiba Wilson. And we have Mr. Wayne James. And I saw a reaction there. That means there's some surprises. There's some heavy hitters in that area. In the Bonaccord Crown Point area, well, this is hotly contested by persons who want to replace Mr. Sampson. We have Mr. Kerrill Boyce. We have Rhonda Nicole Hackett. We have Nikita Percy. And we have Shenell Cooks Skeet. 4 people vying for the Bonaccord area. And the final area, which is the most hotly contested area, with about 10 nominees, is Bethel New Grange. Me and know Bethel people here, everybody in Bethel wants to run. And in Bethel, we have Mr. Cloyd Williams. People call him Cloydy, from the Maxi Taxi Association. We have Mr. Terence Larry Baines, who is the incumbent. We have Curtis Andre Devines. We have Darren Hestor Henry. Mr. Henry is head of forestry department right now in the THA. We have Aquilon Garfield Ned as number 5, otherwise called My Boy. There is Mr. Aloy Westfield, a young man from out there in the Bethel area. We have Alicia Lacey Roberts Patterson. So Alicia is no stranger to politics. She has been involved. In fact, she was a candidate in 2017. She was unsuccessful, but she continued to work with the party. We have Sherwin Baines Wellington. We have Miss Tennille Monique Jack. And we have Mr. Jarrell Orr. So those are the areas in Bethel New Grange. So while we talk, I'll ask that they just keep putting the list on the screen. They could do a split screen while we look at, well, let's show everything from Argyle, Roxborough Argyle, all the way down to Bethel New Grange. At this time, there are 3 areas or 4 areas with a single nominee, and all the other areas are contested. So we have quite a large list. Screening will be exciting. We are looking at beginning screening next week and across a 2-week period, because we have a large number of people to interview. The action groups will receive by Friday their notice and their paperwork to do the assessment of the nominees in their area. They will send those up to the political leader, who will have those given to the screening committee, who will do an assessment, do an interview, and then make a recommendation to the political leader on which way they think we should go. The political leader, based on the Constitution, has a final say, has a say in it. But I tend not to veto. I tend to send back to the community if I'm not satisfied that we have a winning candidate. I think all of those who have offered themselves are in fact worthy candidates, are worthy prospects. All have contributed to Tobago's development and to the development of their respective communities. People are excited. I've seen a mix of ages. I've seen retirees. I've seen very young, as in the 20s. I've seen middle age. I have seen men. I've seen women. I've seen people here with different religious backgrounds. I've seen people here with different professions. And we are a party that, while we are strong on academics, we are also strong on taking grassroots people and building them up. Every time you hear people like Clark speak now, such magnificent growth. This is somebody that was a daily rated worker that is now a secretary, because we are a party that believes that Tobago is a place where people can self-actualize. That it matters not where your station in life is now in Tobago. You can go, you can self-actualize, you can be part of this build-out of the greatest city island on the planet.
Understood. Well, we want to thank you so much for being here this morning. And it seems that there's a election happening on its own within the T.P.P. So is there anything that you want to say to persons looking on, your supporters, members, going forward?
Just to indicate that we want clean fights across the districts, to indicate that ultimately the people in our districts, the people in our villages decide. I listen to them carefully. I listen to what they have and what they want out of governance and leadership in their community, and we respect that totally. It's one of the reasons why we have been winning since 2021. It's because we have listened when it comes to choosing our candidates, and we build people, we build the communities. That's what it's about. And so I want to thank profusely all those who have offered themselves. Politics sometimes can be a blood sport. Politics, you put your name out there today and all of a sudden people know all the bad things about you. People say all kinds of unsavory things about you in the politics. And so I commend people for their bravery. I commend people for offering themselves. I commend people for saying, look, I want to be a part of something great. And I commend people for being soldiers in this fight for building the greatest city island on the planet. And thank you very much for this opportunity to share this information with the rest of the Tobago public.
Excellent. Well, guys, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussions. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and have a great day.
Let's go! a brand new morning.